Emily never imagined a single message could tilt the weight of her entire week. Yet the moment her phone buzzed that Friday evening, something inside her shifted. Her life had been a quiet repetition, early mornings, dragging herself through her design firm job, the long drive home under the dimming Midwest sun, and collapsing into her apartment where silence greeted her with more consistency than any human ever had. She wasn't unhappy, just caught in the lingering aftertaste of a breakup that no longer hurt sharply, but hovered like a shadow that never left. Her friends had tried to pull her out. Countless times dinners, movies, weekend trips, but she always found an excuse. I'm busy, I'm tired, not tonight. The real reason was simpler. She hadn't trusted herself to feel again. But something about that evening made the apartment feel smaller, the air thicker. Her phone buzzed with a group chat she barely checked anymore. Emily, we're all going out tonight. Just a low-key dinner. Come with us. For a moment, she almost ignored it, thumb hovering over the screen. Habit made her hesitate, but some tired, hopeful part of her whispered, maybe just tonight. The usual excuses formed in her mind work. Her outdated wardrobe, awkward small talk, but something felt different. She typed maybe next time, then erased it. Typed I'm busy and deleted that too. She was tired of standing on the sidelines, watching life move without her. Finally, she exhaled and typed one word. Yes, instantly the air felt lighter. A knot she hadn't realized she'd tied unraveled. Her friends reacted with a flurry of emojis and voice notes, their excitement palpable even through text. It struck her then how much she had missed being wanted, being included. She rifled through her closet, pulling out clothes she hadn't touched in months. Nothing felt right until she chose a soft cream sweater and dark jeans, simple, comfortable, something that made her feel herself again. In the mirror, she saw someone tired but ready, driving through Maplewood's quiet streets. She tried to tell herself it was just dinner, but beneath the surface, a spark of anticipation glimmered. Maybe this night wouldn't be ordinary. Maybe saying yes would open a door she didn't even know she wanted to walk through. The restaurant glowed warmly from the outside, laughter spilling through its windows. Emily paused in her car, gripping the steering wheel as hesitation washed over her. She could turn around, claim she felt sick, retreat. But she remembered the oppressive silence of her apartment and refused to let fear win again. Stepping out, the cool air kissed her cheeks. Her heartbeat quickened, not from panic, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time, hope. The door opened, warmth and chatter spilling over her, and her friends waved eagerly, their faces lighting up at her arrival. Then she saw him, Brian, her breath caught not dramatically, but just enough to knock the air from her lungs. They hadn't seen each other in nearly a year. College friends, close in ways that had always flirted with more, pulled apart by life. He moved to Michigan for work. She stayed in Illinois. They hadn't ended badly, but neither had spoken the words that might have changed everything. Now, he stood casually among her friends, the same easy smile she remembered. Hands in his pockets, talking like no time had passed. And when their eyes met, the chatter dimmed just slightly. Recognition, warmth, a spark that reminded her of all the almosts and could-have-beens, flickered between them. Emily, he said, stepping closer, his voice carrying a warmth that made her heart skip. It wasn't dramatic, it was real, honest. He was glad to see her, and that alone sent her pulse racing. Her friend's excitement pulled at her, but she couldn't tear her eyes from him. She slid into a seat beside them, laughing and catching up with friends. But her attention kept drifting back to Ryan. The conversation was effortless, natural, pulling in fragments of college memories like old photographs pressed into her mind. She noticed the subtle details, how his eyes crinkled when he laughed, the way he remembered little things from their past. And every time their hands brushed, Once reaching for the bread basket, the warmth surged, electric yet comforting. Dinner arrived. Colorful salads, warm bread, sizzling mains. Emily found herself listening less to the conversation and more to Ryan, the way he animated stories with his hands, the faint spark of passion in his voice, the quiet attentiveness that suggested he had always kept pieces of her tucked away. Saving them for moments like this, her friends joked and laughed, but she and Ryan existed in a subtle bubble, a quiet rhythm of glances, touches, smiles. Dessert came, light and shared, and the conversation drifted naturally toward future plans, dreams, small confessions. Emily realized something she hadn't expected. Closure hadn't been enough. Seeing him again awakened more than nostalgia. It reminded her of the connection she had buried. The thrill of being understood without explanation, of laughter shared in perfect sync. The night deepened. The lights dimmed, and the group stepped outside. The crisp air along the Maplewood River carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant coffee shops. Emily and Ryan naturally fell behind, their voices softened, lowered by the rhythm of the river. Conversations of work and small joys gradually gave way to dreams, fears, and vulnerabilities, effortlessly weaving a quiet intimacy that neither rushed nor forced. Ryan's glance lingered, careful, intense yet calm, his presence grounding and thrilling all at once. Emily realized that saying yes that night had done more than pull her from her apartment. It had opened a door to life, to possibility, to connection. A night that began as a simple dinner had already begun reshaping her heart and reminding her of her own capacity to feel hope and perhaps love again. The night had settled around them like a soft, dark blanket, punctuated only by the golden reflections of streetlights dancing on the Maplewood River. Emily and Ryan fell into an easy rhythm, walking just a step or two behind their friends, the space between them forming a quiet bubble. Every word, every glance felt deliberate yet effortless, as though the year apart had been a pause, not an absence. Ryan's voice broke the soft hum of the city. "Do you ever wonder," he began, almost casually, "how small choices can change everything?" Emily smiled, knowing exactly what he meant. Yes, she thought silently, this is exactly that, a single choice. All the time, she admitted. It's strange, a little terrifying too, how one yes or one no can reroute your life. He glanced at her, eyes catching the lamplight, and she felt the pull again, the subtle tension they both danced around all night. It wasn't desperation. It wasn't even passion, not yet. It was a quiet electricity, like the river itself hummed between them, rippling with possibility. They slowed as they reached a narrow wooden bridge, the river shimmering below them. Leaves drifted lazily on the water's surface, carried along by invisible currents. Emily noticed Ryan shift closer, his shoulder brushing hers lightly. Neither pulled away. Neither needed to. The touch, small and fleeting, carried weight beyond its size. "I missed this," Ryan said softly, almost a whisper. "Missed you. And I didn't realize how much until tonight." Her chest tightened. She had rehearsed 1,000 responses in her head, yet none felt adequate. Words seemed too clumsy to hold what her heart already knew. Instead, she smiled, soft and steady, letting her gaze linger on him. The unspoken acknowledgement between them held more truth than any declaration could. They paused halfway across the bridge, looking down at the water as it swirled and glimmered. The group ahead had disappeared from view, their laughter fading into the distance. For a moment, Emily felt suspended in time. The city noise softened to a whisper, and it was just her and Ryan. "I've thought about this," he continued, almost hesitant, "about us. About what could have been, and I don't want to waste more time." Her pulse quickened, a warm thrill spreading from her chest to her fingertips. The vulnerability in his voice was magnetic, a pull she had resisted for months without realizing she had been resisting at all. "Neither do I," she admitted. Her words were careful, yet charged, carrying a truth she hadn't allowed herself to fully acknowledge until this very moment. Ryan reached for her hand slowly, deliberately, and this time she didn't hesitate. Their fingers intertwined naturally, a quiet confirmation that neither needed to rush, yet both were ready to explore what had been waiting beneath the surface for over a year. The river flowed beneath them, a silent witness to the moment, carrying away the past just enough to let something new take hold. They lingered there for a few long minutes, talking softly about small victories and setbacks over the past year, laughter punctuating their confessions. Every glance, every shared smile carried the weight of history and the excitement of possibility. Emily realized the delicate balance between caution and abandon was thrilling in a way she hadn't remembered. Life, for the first time in months, felt expansive again. As they continued along the riverbank, the conversation shifted naturally. They spoke of hopes they had tucked away, of dreams that had felt unreachable, of fears they had never voiced. Each admission drew them closer, a quiet intimacy weaving itself into their steps and shared silences. Emily marveled at the ease of it, the way he listened not just to her words, but to her pauses, her glances, the subtleties that spoke louder than anything said aloud. At one point, Ryan stopped, turning to face her fully. "Emily, do you remember that night before graduation? When we stayed up until dawn, talking about everything we wanted from life?" She nodded, a faint laugh escaping. "Of course. We made lists, grand plans, and then life happened." "Yes," he said, smiling softly. "But maybe life isn't done happening yet. Maybe some things are worth picking back up." Her heart thudded. The thought of rekindling something she had convinced herself was over both terrified and exhilarated her. Yet the trust and ease between them made the leap feel possible, almost inevitable. The river widened, and they paused on another small bridge. Ryan tilted his head toward her, a question in his eyes that needed no words. Emily leaned just slightly closer, and in the quiet night, the city lights shimmering behind them, they shared their first tentative kiss of the evening. Not rushed, not desperate, but deliberate, a soft brush of lips that spoke of absence and longing, of patience and readiness, of all the unspoken what-ifs finally allowed to breathe. The kiss ended, and they lingered in the afterglow, foreheads touching, eyes half closed. The world beyond the river, the friends ahead, the mundane worries of life all faded into insignificance. It was just them, suspended in a fragile, perfect moment where time seemed to slow. Allowing them to savor rediscovery and connection, they rejoined the group eventually, hands still entwined under the table, walking side by side toward the cars. Laughter and chatter surrounded them, yet Emily felt a quiet, intimate world had been carved out just for them. The night had shifted from a simple yes to dinner into something transformative, a reconnection, a rekindling, a first step toward possibilities they had only dreamed of. Driving home later, the city lights blurred past, and Emily felt a serene exhilaration settle in her chest. She realized that life didn't wait for perfection. It waited for courage. And tonight, her single choice to step out, to say yes, to risk vulnerability had reopened a door to connection, intimacy, and perhaps love. By the time she reached her apartment, the night air still lingering on her skin, Emily knew she had crossed a threshold. The quiet rhythm of her previous life had shifted. The apartment didn't feel lonely anymore. Her heart, once cautious and retreating, felt alive. Hope wasn't just a whisper. It was a presence, tangible, persistent, and thrilling. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning.